Hey guys, and welcome back to the Seraphic Divine Podcast. Okay, so yesterday we touched briefly on some astrological placements. Not necessarily placements, but we talked about some placements that I had in my chart. Okay. Unzip this kind of feeling kind of tizzy with it all the way to the top. Okay. So we discussed degree placements, like where within what deacon that degree falls and how it is expressed, what astrological sign is tied to that deacon. And we didn't discuss what it's called, but it's called triplicity. So triplicity is when you look at the deacon in that particular house. So let's say, like yesterday I said, my Mercury was in Virgo in the 12th house, and it was in the third deacon. Okay. So, excuse me. So there are two ways to read the deacons. You can read it in the Chaldean, and this is the ancient way that they used to read it. This is the Chaldean way, is where you place the fastest moving planet in the beginning. So you start at Aries, and then each deacon gets the fastest. It goes from the fastest to the slowest moving planet, and then it just recycles until you get to the 12th house. So you start at the first house, and then you use the fastest to the slowest moving, and then keep recycling until you get to the 12th house. And that is how you read the deacons according to the Chaldean method, which is Chalde, Chaldean. I think it's Daean. I'm not really sure how to spell that correctly. Let's look it up. Chaldean. Yeah, so Chaldean. So Chaldean. And the Chaldean people were from Babylon. This is roots in Babylon, what is now Iraq. So that was their method in reading astrology and how to read the will and how to read the deacons and the degree placements. But now we tend to use the triplicity. I'm not sure. Let me see. Yeah, it's called triplicity lords or rulers in astrology. Okay, so triplicity is it basically helps you. Yeah, so basically you use each zodiac sign that connects to that specific element. So, okay, like my Mercury is in Virgo. So if you look at Mercury, in the 12th house, so it goes based off of house. So in the 12th house, that is a Pisces. That is a Pisces house because Pisces is the last sign. It starts with Aries, ends with Pisces. So the 12th house is owned by Pisces. So if you want to, and according to the triplicity method, you would start off with Pisces, then you would start off with the next sign, which is Cancer, and then you would end off with Virgo. So because my my Mercury, excuse me, I was like, what the fuck am I saying? My Mercury is at 20 degrees in the 12th house in the third deacon. It's considered to be a degree placement that correlates to Scorpio energy. And like I expressed yesterday, it has to do with someone who's very strong-willed, who's a humanitarian, who's also, who has no victim or martyr complex, because this is how Pisces tend to that is the energy of Pisces. Like if it was in the first house, I would have that complex. Like I would feel like, oh, people don't like me, I'm a victim, or I would feel like, oh, I need to self-sacrifice and I need to go and compromise myself to make other people happy. And that's usually where Pisces are in their extremes. But being as though I don't have, it's in a Pisces house, but it's in a third decan, it's actually channeling energy of the Scorpio. So it has that humanitarian aspect that Pisces have, but it also has the degree placement is enabling my Virgo energy, which is Mercury energy, but has to do with intellect, has to do with, organization, practicality, uh, it's a mutable energy, so it's interchangeable, very go with the flow energy. So with that and that tied together, it's basically insinuating that, okay, and in the 12th house, so the 12th house is centered around, like, the dream space. This is like the astral realm. The 12th house, it connects to the astral realm and also connects to illusions. So like, in its shadow energy, you're in an illusionary state. So like, you live in your head most of the time. Like, this is why you see so many Pisces. They have like this etheric look to them. Like, they carry their life is like a fairy tale. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at Pisces, you be like, is this person even in this world right now? Are you even paying the fuck attention to what's going on around you? You know what I'm saying? But that's how their mind functions, especially if it's a Pisces with a Pisces Mercury. Now, not to say that Pisces that have like Aries Mercury or Aquarius Mercury aren't as airy fairy. They're just a little bit more grounded in specific areas. So like, if a Pisces had a Mercury because Mercury can only go one house over backwards, one house over forward, when according to like your birth sign. It will never be, you'll never be a Pisces with a Leo Mercury. It's not possible, because Mercury is one of the faster moving planets. So it tends to migrate, it tends to shift, because you only have 28, 30, 31 days in the goddamn in that month anyway. And the whole month is not given to that specific sign either. Like, I'm a Leo, my birthday's in August, but the signs usually only last for about 28 days. You see what I'm saying? They only give you a fair, like, let's see, how many days is in each sign. Okay, like, so Aries only gets, those are the wrong dates. Those are the wrong dates. Um, so you get about, 30 days. You get 30 days because each decan has 30 degrees. So each sign gets about 30 days, roughly. So, so basically, Mercury stays is either in the energy of before, in the sign of the energy before, or in the sign of the energy at that present time, or the sign of the energy coming up. So but it never is in a completely opposite energy, because it's such a fast moving energy that it's moving, I think, at the same rate of the days. Mercury is moving at the same speed um of the month. So it's going to either be ahead or it's going to be behind, or it might go retrograde, and then it'll be in a sign that already passed. But if it's constantly moving forward, it'll be in a sign that is prevalent at that time. Like, if it wasn't prevalent in my sign, it was already moving forward into Virgo when I was born, because I'm 2 weeks, almost, 2 weeks before Virgo starts. I'm not like a July Leo, because I have a friend, her birthday is July. She's a July Leo, and she has a Leo Mercury. And I was born close to the end of August. August ends, the Leo sign ends on the 23rd. I was born on the 17th. So it's not a big gap. You get what I'm saying? It's like 5 days, 6 days. So it's 6 days. So in that it was already transitioning into the sign of Mercury when I was born, which is why it's in the third decan, because it was going into, it would have been going into, coming out of Virgo, going into Libra. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it was already moving forward, moving ahead, almost ready to go into the Libra sign. And I had a friend at the time who, her birthday was 2 weeks. So all of our birthdays were 2 weeks apart. My the July Leo, she was the 26th, mine was the 17th, and the other one was the 9/11. So all our birthdays were 2 weeks apart, literally. So that's why we were very similar, but very different in our own way. And we all had Virgo in our charts. Like one of them, the July Leo, she had a Virgo moon. I had a Virgo rising and a Virgo Mercury. The 9/11, she was a Virgo with a Virgo Mercury. So we all had Virgo and Leo in our charts. We were both Leo. She had a Leo rising. So it was very similar energies. You get what I'm saying? But it was very different because they were in different placements and in different degrees. So what I'm getting at is basically like, we were discussing the degree placements and the decans. Okay. And so now we're going to kind of go into the planetary system. Okay. So a lot of people know about the planets. They know they exist. They know that they believe that the planets are physical balls, like little balls you can land a ship on or a plane on. I mean, excuse me, or a spaceship on, because I kind of separated them. Like, you can land a plane or a ship. You can land a spaceship on, and you can actually dock it. That's not true. That's not realistic. That's not realistic. Okay, they want us, for, to me, my perspective is some of them you can. Some of them you absolutely cannot. Some of them, because they exist in the physical realm. So I would say Mercury, no, let's look at the, okay, I would say Mercury and Venus, you could probably land on Mercury and Venus. But Mars and Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, absolutely not. You have to be in a different state, in a different form. And even to land on Mercury and Venus, you also have to be in a higher elevated state to do that as well. This is why a lot of people lucid dream and access these realms through lucid dreaming, because these are realms, these are dimensions. So these are not necessarily physical, like, even here, like it's the impression that we are in a physical form, a physical, because you have senses to feel and touch and smell and see and hear. But in actuality, this is an illusion as well. This is an illusion that is being not transcribed, but that is being mirrored from above below. So it's not necessarily that it's not happening. It's just that it's happening step by step. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have the powers, if you have the ability to access the technology, or to access it internally, to be able to travel through time, or to be able to jump timelines, anybody can jump timelines. You don't know what timeline you're going to jump onto. Let's be very clear. Like, when they tell you and they talk to you on the internet, mostly on YouTube or on Instagram or on TikTok, okay, these are the famous places where people try to tell you how to timeline jump. There is no guarantee what timeline you're going to jump onto. You could jump onto a timeline, because most people believe that, okay, so the only way you can directly jump onto a timeline is if you, and even then, like, okay, so the only way you can guarantee what timeline you're jumping onto is with specifics, right? So let's say you call in, like, you're in a meditative state. Like, you have to be, this is a very, very intricate process. A lot of people think that, oh, I can just go into meditation, I can just lucid dream and jump into a goddamn timeline. Absolutely not. Okay, it's not that easy. It's not something that you can just attain straight out the gate. It's something that comes with practice, something that you have to be able to tap into and understand where you're at, what energy you're in, and what timeline, what frequency you're at, because you could be in Mercury jumping in, you could be lucid dreaming in Mercury over here, dealing with this specific energy and not really understanding that that doesn't mean that it's going to correlate back into Earth. It's just that you're in this realm having to deal with something that could be blocking your manifestation in Earth by way of Mercury, because every particular planet, every realm, there is a version of you that exists. So there is an aspect of you that is, being that essentially has descended down into Earth, that has enabled you to become a physical entity. So that aspect of you still exists there. It's remnants of you there, remnants of you here, right? So this is why when you ascend, you go back and you pick up these pieces that you dropped in these different parts, and and then you go up to the highest supernal being, right? You go back into the no thing. But in order to jump timelines in the physical realm, you honestly have to be a master at mind control. Like, you honestly have to understand your own mind. You have to understand what's happening in your mind and where to go in your mind to actually make this happen. Because they tell you, oh, you can just lay your ass down and lucid dream and jump timelines. Absolutely not. No, you cannot. You cannot do that. You have to be very clear when you're doing this, because the mind has many subdivisions. And this is what they talk about when they talk about the 12 disciples, this is why we were talking about that yesterday, 12 tribes of Judah. They all correlate to the zodiac, right? They all correlate to the nervous system, the 12 nerves the 12 faculties of the brain that connect to the nervous system. So this is why you have to understand the brain and what aspect of the brain, because what you're doing is basically going into your mind, tapping into your brain, and seeing what aspect of your brain like you need to work on, or that needs to be awakened, so that you can be able to jump timelines freely, easily, and access this timeline without refute. You know what I'm saying? Without like issue. But a lot of people don't have that, are not deeply rooted and connected to themselves and this realm well enough to be able to jump timelines like that and to root it in this realm. You might be able to go in a different timeline in your sleep, but that doesn't mean that when you wake up, you're going to be there when you wake up. That's what people don't understand. You're in many timelines. You could go to sleep, wake up, take a piss, lay back down, you in a whole nother timeline. Wake up, do some shit around the house, clean up, do some work, go lay back down for an hour. You're in a whole nother timeline. You're in a whole nother dimension. You're in a whole nother, you're in a whole nother, you've shifted somewhere else. But it has something to do with where you're at now, what you're doing now. It could be that, it's something of the past, or it could be something of the future that's being shown to you to kind of help you or guide you into what your next steps are, or to prevent you from making the same mistake twice. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sometimes there's a lot of guidance in your dreams, and a lot of people are timeline jumping in their dreams. Like, if you do a ritual before you go to bed, this is really the easiest way to, I would say, timeline jump, is to do rituals like magic, is to perform spells, because when you go to sleep, then you wake up, 9 times out of 10 the spell has done its work, it has done its job. If it's a spell on you, if you're doing a spell on you, now let's be clear, you cannot force anyone to go on that timeline with you. So if you're trying to let me go to this timeline and bring my 6, 7 kids with me, it's probably not going to happen. You're probably only going to jump by yourself. So this is why you have to be very clear and understand that there's consequences for every action, because on this timeline you might have kids, but on that timeline you might not have any fucking body. You might not have a goddamn kid in sight. You might not even be living the life you thought you was going to live on that timeline. You just wanted to experience that timeline because you hoped that this would make you happy. And that's what a lot of people aren't understanding. When you incarnated into this realm, you basically forged a contract by way of the stars and by way of the planetary systems, and you decided, I want to incarnate in this way with these abilities, with this understanding, and in order for me to live out my best potential or to become the best version of myself in this realm. So when you create these contracts, when you write your name in the book of life, okay, and you decide, this is who I'm going to be, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm signing up to go back. I'm going back in. I'm going back in. And so they're like, okay, all right, bet you going back in. All right, don't forget, this and this, that and this. Everything that you know now, you will no longer know. You have to work yourself back up to that, because not, and I don't think everybody chooses to do that. Let's be clear. I don't think every person makes makes the choice or the decision to say, I want to forget everything. I think a lot of people do come back with their old memories, with their consciousness intact. But some people are not able to come back with their consciousness intact because of the trauma that has occurred in that particular lifetime. So if you had a lot of traumatic life experiences, you're going to come back with cognitive dissonance. You're going to come back with a forgetful mind, because you're here to learn that lesson. So if you already know the lesson, obviously you're not going to repeat that same cycle. But if you're that, and this is where the North Node and the South Node come into play. So what I was reading back here, I'm going to get to the planets. Just give me a second. I think this is all correlating in its own funny, mysterious way. It's all coming together. So this is what it was saying about the North and the South Node. So these are your karmic lessons. So a lot of people like to attribute the South Node to a karmic lesson, a lesson that you are learning now, a lesson that you already learned that you should not repeat. But in actuality, what it says here is, so the point of node return, okay? So many astrologers include the moon's nodes in their calculations. The nodes are mathematical points that show where the moon's orbit and the sun's path happen to intersect. So basically, when you were coming in, it was like this. They were crossing each other's path. The sun and the moon were crossing each other's path. So this is your fate, your sun, and this is who you once were, your moon, right? This is who you once were, your moon. So at that point of return, because 9 times out of 10, they connect in the same house. They are opposite of each other. So let's say in a past life, you were, this is your South Node. In a past life, you were a military sergeant, and you excelled at that. Like, that was your best quality. You didn't have no kids. You did some covert missions. You were a high ranking sergeant, basically. Okay, so now coming into this life, you're learning how to use this energy that you had here and apply it to a humanitarian aspect, right? Or to apply it to a home. How to build a home, to build a family, to structure a family. But last lifetime you were a man, this lifetime you're coming in as a woman. Do you see how they kind of switch it up and change it out to make it a lot easier? And sometimes they even keep you as a man. They might keep you as a man, but give you feminine energy to help you utilize that feminine energy in order to better learn how to function in a household and use that robotic energy and turn it into a nurturing energy, turn it into a loving energy, turn it into a compassionate energy. Because the main objective is to restore balance into this realm. It's to restore love, compassion, understanding, peace, to restore the higher principles, the virtues back into this realm. Because the virtues have been lost. We focus so much on the vices that this realm is imbalanced. And that is the main reason why we weigh so heavily onto these ancient practices, because these ancient practices kept and maintained the balance, right? But now a lot of that stuff has died out by way of the elite, because they want to keep us in the dark. They want to keep us ignorant and naive so that they can continue to feed off of our vices and keep us in a state of, you know, basically ignorance and negativity. And that way we don't tap into our true potential, because the virtues are what is above, the vices are what is below. That is your shadow energy. So now you have this shadow energy that it doesn't say. So what it says here, let's be clear. So your self note, it highlights a point of natural ability. So you are instinctually a sergeant. Like, you have the ability, you're career driven, you're focused, like, you know how to execute a plan. When you put a plan in motion, you go. So the best energy that I would say that works with that is I keep getting Capricorn. Capricorn is very structure based. They're very goal driven, goal oriented. They're very methodical, so very much into, structure, a plan. Like, they're very much, you gotta do what is, like, you gotta follow the rules, the laws. Like, they're very much the lawmakers. Okay, and then Cancer is more on the other side of the spectrum, so they're a little bit more free spirited. They're more interested in nurturing and taking care of people. They're more interested in family. They're not to say the Cancers aren't goal oriented. It just depends on what other placements play a role, but they're more family oriented. So these are the kept women. You know what I'm saying? The women that they build the home, and they're very good at building homes. Like, I have a Cancer moon, and also my Cancer moon is in my 10th house. So with my Cancer moon being in my 10th house, when it comes to career, this is the best career for me, because I understand how to make I'm very domestic. That's what it is. Like, I'm very domesticated. So, like, when it comes to taking care of children, when it comes to building a home, maintaining a home, understanding, cleanliness is godliness, understanding that, that you got to have structure in the home in order to create an environment where the children can thrive. That is my niche. And I also know that in order to do that within a family environment, you also have to do that in career. So for a while, I was lost around career, because I was wondering, like, how could I implement these energies that I possess in building a home and wanting to take care and nurture and do for others? How can I implement this into a career? Because I was trying to go down a more what is that, not generic path, but a more, yeah, more generic path, like a doctor or a nurse, uh um healthcare, that type of, like, having Cancer in my 10th house will be centered around, like, a healthcare worker or something, someone who takes care of others and who does things for others. But because Cancer is in my 10th house, and Cancer is all about the house, that means that I needed to find a career where I could work in-house with my kids, where I could work from home, because I work better in the comfort of my home, on my own schedule, on my own time, as opposed to if my 10th house was in Capricorn, I'm career driven. So automatically I'm out the dub. I'm out here working in the corporate world. I can, anywhere you put me, I'm going to excel, because Capricorn's in my 10th house. But being as though Cancer's in my 10th house and Capricorn's in my 4th house, I had to understand early on in life, because 4th house is all about, like, your ancestors, all about your childhood, like your home, like how you see family in this life. Mine was retrograde, so I was very different from my family. Like, I was very loving, caring, considerate, very outgoing. And my mom and my dad were very, like, my mom was very much pessimistic. I wasn't a very pessimistic person, because my Capricorn, I have a stellium in my 4th house. So all my Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus are in Capricorn, but they're all retrograde. So the energy that comes with it, like, Capricorn's very strict, very by the book, very, rules. This is how it goes. You got to follow the rules. The rules have to be followed in house. And I was a rule breaker Basically, that's what I was. I was a rule breaker. So you put rules in front of me, I'm finding a way to finesse and finagle that shit every time. And that's what I did my whole life. In house, at home, all I did was break the rules. I didn't give a damn. And so understanding that I have an opposition to rules and I'm not normal. I'm more like the black sheep of my family. And knowing that in my career, I excel best at working from home and doing things to help other people. I had to look and see, okay, Neptune is in Capricorn retrograde. So to have my Neptune in Capricorn already kind of suppress some of that energy around that fairy tale lifestyle. But because it was retrograde, I instead of wanting to express it, I internalized it. I internalized a lot of like my fairy tale, like my dream life, my dream home. You know what I'm saying? It was hard for me to express this energy outwardly because it was something that I felt shame around. Like I felt shame because I thought only I functioned like this. But then as time started to change and transition, I started realizing, okay, there's a lot of people that live that think like me and that live like me, that want to have this ideal home life, that believe in like fairy tales, that believe in magic, that believe in all of this shit. But it wasn't accessible to me in my childhood because I was the oddball out. You know what I'm saying? And when it came to my individuality around Uranus in Capricorn, but retrograde, I always wanted, I was just dancing in the mirror, singing, dancing in the mirror. My son came in. Like, I don't have a problem expressing his energy around people that I know, that I'm comfortable with. But once I get around people that I feel like are judging me, I start to judge myself. So I'm very critical of myself. And because also my Mercury is in Virgo in the 12th house, my expression around this energy, because if you see that Neptune is in Capricorn retrograde, and then Virgo is in Mercury 12th house. Okay. When it comes to my fairy tale phantasma, my connection to the divine and the etheric realm, it's very practical. So it's like if I can't root it into this realm, it's almost doesn't exist to me. You get what I'm saying? And this is why I've had a hard time grasping the concept around aliens, because it's like I believe that there are beings that exist, but I do not believe they're aliens. I don't believe that they are what society has made them out to be. I believe that there are energies that exist that are either to your detriment or to your benefit, but it's up to you to distinguish between which ones you want to utilize. If no one else can choose for you, if you allow someone else to choose, that means that you're not playing an active role in your life. But if you but if you take the choice, if you get in the driver's seat, okay, and you drive your own car and you use your own fucking brain, then at the end of the day, that is how you enable yourself to now become the God in your life. Because God is within you. God is not an external being. It's not something outside of you. It's a supernal being that helped to create you, to help put energy and plasma into you. But it did not put limitations on you because it did not want you to transcend, or it wanted you to stay here and suffer. It wanted you to be able to experience, to have knowledge, to grasp every concept you could so that you could bring it back to it. Okay, you down there, get that knowledge, man, because we need you to bring it back up here. You know what I'm saying? Learn something so you can bring it back to me. I want to hear about it. I want to feel it. I want to fuck with it too. You know what I'm saying? I want to have that experience too. Basically, and they're having it by way of you. And you are an extension of God. So if you keep looking outside of you like, God, please give me a savior, God gonna look at you like, what? It's you, dum dum. You know what I'm saying? So back to South Node. Okay. So the South Node highlights a point of natural ability. So, like I was saying, okay, your South Node is in military. You know, in a last life, you were a soldier. You were executioner, like not necessarily a killer, but you were killing niggas. You know what I'm saying? But you were an executioner, and any plan that was put in place in front of you, you were like the Watcher. Okay, I mean the Witcher. Excuse me, not the Watcher. The Witcher. if you watch The Witcher, that's the type of shit I like. Like, I'm into all that fantasy shit. I love, like, leprechaun shows. I love all that shit. I feel a connection to that. So it's like, that's why I watch stuff like that, because I feel connected to anything that correlates to ancient times or ancient history, because it's lost. It's a lost history. It's a lost knowledge. So let's say you like The Witcher. You don't have a family. Your main objective is to kill monsters, essentially. But then you come across a queen where she makes you an offering, and she makes you vow to protect her granddaughter. Okay? So now anytime you set out on a quest, you execute start to finish. You don't stop. That was your goal. That was your objective in that life. You were an excellent swordsman, or marksman, whatever it was. You excelled in that area. You understand how to plan, execute. You could have been a covert, you could have been a CIA agent, a secret agent, a spy. You could have been a hitman, whatever it was. You understand the concept of the rules and execution, and executing the rules within the spectrum of whatever you're being given. Okay, so that's the Capricorn side. You're in your South Node. Your natural ability is to follow the rules and understand that, when it comes down to war, times of war, military strategy, you have the highest possible IQ on that, right? This is where you excel. So that is a natural ability to you. When you incarnated in this realm, that was an ability you came in with. You don't have, like, as a kid, you just knew when somebody was, faking on you. You know what I'm saying? You knew when somebody was trying to fight you, or you knew when shit was about to go left. So you either took stock of the situation, like, okay, this is what we gonna do, blah blah blah, boom boom boom, we out of here. Or you was like, you know what? I'm about to beat this nigga ass. So you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you move. You knew it was only two routes. You knew that you wasn't gonna walk away. And if you had to, then you would. But if you had to choose to take this path or this path, you knew that you have that bravery. You know what I'm saying? That warrior in you. That warrior spirit is in you. So that's a natural talent that you have. Or skills that's innate, inborn, already mastered. You already mastered these abilities. These abilities are like second nature to you. You already, whenever every day you get up, you feel like a warrior. You feel like, destined, like people picking on bullies, picking on people, you beating ass. You beating ass, taking whooping ass, taking names later. I forgot what the saying is. I forgot what the saying is, but that's what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are a warrior at heart. So it doesn't matter what it is. Your bravery is astounding. Like, people love to see you at work. Like, you might even go into a career field where it's centered around, military, or you might try to. So this is the thing. With your South Node, you'll never feel content, because that's something you already mastered. So basically what it's saying is, it could be a karmic lesson that was learned in a past life. So you feel no urge or obligation to repeat it in this one. It is a marker of inherited skill and ease. So in a past life, in the life before that past life, you were a coward. You ran from a fight. You did a lot of like cowardice shit. Like, when it was time for women and children to get protection, you would throw women and children out and let them die, and so you could survive. And so in your next life, you became a warrior. You conquered that lesson. You understood what it was to step up and fight, to fight for others, to fight for the greater good of humanity. And also, self-sacrifice, instead of, being a coward and, standing in the back and letting women fight the war. You got your ass up and you fought the war. You get what I'm saying? And you did what was needed for you to, not avenge, but technically, yeah, avenge who you were in a past life to who you were in the life before last, and to make it better in the past life that before this one. Okay? So the North Node, because remember, they're intersecting like this. So the North Node indicates a karmic lesson you were born to learn. So it says it's related to possibilities, growth, challenges and opportunities for improvement. Okay, and I read this before, but for some reason it automatically came to me, Cancer and Capricorn. Okay, so in the North Node aspect of it, now you're like, okay, I already learned, I already know, I already feel like, I mastered, I understand what it is to be a caretaker, like a protector. You understand what it is to be a protector. So now you want to take on the role of being a nurturer. Now you want to step into a role where, um, because your South Node was Capricorn. So you already understand what it is to follow your career, to be career driven, to focus on the task at hand. You were placed with a task, you completed that task, you execute. You know what I'm saying? You take stock and you execute, and that's what you did. And so now you're coming in with your North Node and Cancer. Okay? And now you're coming in to basically use those same skills, but to protect and provide, and also learn how to nurture something, how to put love and compassion into something, how to give in a more feminine way. You know what I'm saying? Because you mastered the masculine principle. Now it's time to master the feminine aspect of it. Like, okay, I gave all I had in a masculine way. Now it's time for me to give in a feminine way. It's time for me to use that energy and turn it into something else, turn it into something that can benefit society in a different way. So it's just like two sides of the spectrum. You don't need to fight no more. You don't have to be a warrior. Like you might have been a man in your past life, but you came as a woman in this life. So now you think like now you beating ass, taking numbers. You in a gang. You might be in a gang. You might just be murking shit, doing shit. But then you realize like I don't really want to do this. Like I feel like this is not who I am. Like I feel like this is a part of me, but this is not who I want to be. So then you start to tap into your North Node. Like there's something more out there for me. And then you meet a man and you fall in love. And now you're like, I want to have a family. I really, really want to have a family. So you have a baby and you're like, this is what I wanted. I wanted to be a kept woman. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm learning how to not just use my skills that I have had from a past life, of being a protector. And also, you might be a cop. You might come in, you might go and pursue becoming a cop, because that's just inherent to you. Those are skills that you inherited from past life. So you become a cop, you'll become a soldier or something. But instead of going to war, you go in and you work in the healthcare. You work in healthcare. So you might do you might go to war and you might become a doctor in the army or the military. And so now you're taking care of other people, but you also have a family of your own. You know what I'm saying? And you just love helping people, but you also still carry those same similar traits that you inherited with, which is being a part of a strategic, or like a structural system, a system that has structure, that is based around rules and regulations, and very like tactical and practical. But you also still use that nurturing aspect of you that you've never used before. Now you're tapping into a different aspect of yourself. This is a lesson you're learning in this life. So that's the duality of it. I went a little bit more in depth. They went on the spectrum of, so if your north and south node were reversed. So if your south node is in Cancer in the fourth house, for example, you might not feel the need to have children. Instead, your focus will be on career, because your north node on the other side of your chart is in Capricorn in the 10th house. That's the sign of ambition, in the house of status. Okay. The north node and the south node are always exactly opposite each other in the chart. So some charts will only show one of the two nodes. So my north node is in Aquarius in the 5th house, and my south node is in Leo in the 11th house. So naturally, I am inclined to want to be a star, to be the center of attention. It's naturally something that comes to me. And because my sun is in Leo, I'm already in that energy on a constant basis. But because I have planets, remember, I have planets in retrograde that have to do with expressing that energy. My Aquarius planet, which is Uranus, is retrograde, and my Mercury is Virgo, and my rising is in Virgo, which are very practical and very reserved energies. I don't always show up as a Leo. Every time I don't. It's very rare. I'm in rare form when I'm expressing myself as a Leo. And it's when I'm at home, in the comfort of my home, by myself, is where I feel most authentic, or I feel like I can be the most, or be my true self, because I'm not at the mercy of others' judgments. So this is why they gave me my South Node in Leo. My South Node is in Leo because I've already in a past life had access to fame and fortune. So I understand fame and fortune, but I just used it differently in a past life. It was more centered around self, me, my own personal growth, me being famous for myself, doing it for me, and for my own personal happiness. Whereas in this lifetime, because it's in Aquarius in the fifth house, right? It has to be around, oh no, excuse me. In a past life, it was because it's in my 11th house. So I did it for the recognition of others. So I became famous so that other people would acknowledge me, so that other people would see me, so that other people would like me, so that I could get friends and network and build, groups and have a group around me. That was what I did in the past. It was more so like for acknowledgement. I didn't do it for myself. I did it for acknowledgement. But now in this life, it's in the fifth house in Aquarius. So I'm meant to be at the center stage. I'm meant to be seen. I'm meant to be heard. I'm meant to be acknowledged because my sun is in Leo. But it being in the fifth house it's meant to be something that I love, that I find contentment in, that I look at, because it's centered around my individuality. What really makes me happy, what really feeds my soul, what really brings me a contentness within, that also I can feed and give to others, that I can push out into the world and be a change maker. You get what I'm saying? Because before I wasn't doing it for no reason at all. I was just doing it for acknowledgement, for shits and giggles. Like, hey, haha, these people fuck with me. Yes, I'm that bitch because people fuck with me. Like, you know how you have celebrities that like, they're just known. Like, they don't really have a fucking skill. They're not really, like, I had skills, don't get me wrong. The same skills I incarnated with this lifetime are the skills that I'm using that I had in the past life, which are the ability to, which are spiritual gifts. I have spiritual gifts. But because of the shame around spirituality in that past life, I didn't use my gifts in the way I should have. I used it as like a staple for, oh, look at me, I'm magical, I have gifts, as opposed to, oh, I'm using these gifts, I'm going to teach you how to use your gifts, I'm going to help you and assist you to put you in a position so you could use your gifts, because we all have these gifts. I'm just one that incarnated with the remembrance that these gifts are accessible. So I'm now going to push them out into the world. That's my purpose now, is to give the knowledge, spread the knowledge in order to be a change maker. Because we know Aquarius, they're revolutionaries. They're what is that P word that I'm looking for? V word, visionaries. They're visionaries. So they're visionaries. They can see into the future. They have the ability to distinguish between what's relevant now and what's going to stay relevant for years to come. And so for me, how I see it, how I was given my gifts, is that what's relevant now needs to stay in this world for years to come. Because the more, every time we lose it, we lose our consciousness. We fall in consciousness. So the best thing we could do with this surge of information is to push it out into this realm and give it to other people. Okay? So let's get into the planets. That was the North Node, South Node. Let's get into the planets now. Okay, so we have the sun. All right, because we're at 49 minutes. So we've been getting into, like, we've been kind of getting more technical, teaching you how, okay, well, if you needed to understand this, and that. There you go. Boom. So the planets. The first one is the sun. So this has to do with Teperet. If you look at the Sephiroth, this is considered beauty. Okay. So the sun, the source of heat and light on earth. So this is an aspect of the no thing that is here in physical form in this earth, helping us to receive those light codes that we need in order to activate and ascend, basically. So it represents energy, enlightenment, radiance, and illumination. And as you know, the only way that these atoms stay together and be, as they have, if they dissipate into the elements, they become the element. But what we know, because there's no life regenerating the cells, but because there's life regenerating the cells, which is the blood, okay, and that carries all of the DNA, which is the atoms, the molecules that are essentially from the ethers. We know that we need the light to shine on us, to give us, to help us to take form. Because if nobody is observing us, then we'll all just dissipate. We'll all die. So this is why it's very important that we preserve the sun. A lot of people think that, oh, the sun is not playing a major role. It's playing a huge role. Because the sun is like God watching you. The sun is watching you. And with the sun's rays and the sun's light, this is how we've been able to maintain form. We've been able to even exist in this realm because that is the observer. We are observing other things that we have created. So that is what gives it life. But the sun has created us, has given us the sun, the stars, the moon. They all are observing us. So that's what gives us the ability to have this experience in this realm. Okay. Because the sun is the center of our universe, it also symbolizes the center of every individual's world, the self or the ego. Okay. It is an active masculine symbol, and the astrological glyph for the sun depicts it at the center of the solar system. Okay. So that is the sun. Now we have the moon. Okay. The moon, which reflects the light of the sun. So this is the mirroring of the sun. Okay. This is the mirror to the sun. This symbolizes reflection and receptivity. So we know the sun is the masculine, the moon is the feminine. You always have to have a masculine and a feminine principle in order to maintain this realm, okay? It also represents the cyclical, changing nature of existence. As you see, the moon goes between phases. Okay, so we have the new moon, we have the waxing moon, we have the full moon, then we have the waning moon, then it goes back into the new moon. Okay. It's a feminine symbol, and its glyph looks like the softly rounded curves of a woman's body. Because it is a feminine principle, it is considered to be the hokmah, the wisdom of this realm, whereas the sun is considered to be the bina, the masculine principle of this realm. Okay, so now we go into Mercury. Mercury, the fastest moving planet, symbolizes speed. Okay? Because Mercury was the messenger of the gods. It also symbolizes communication. The glyph for Mercury looks like a stick figure sketch of the young Greek god in his winged helmet. Okay? Venus, the planet of love and beauty. Okay? So the moon was Yesod, which is foundation, which helps to create stability in this realm, because it is the opposite, is the mother, okay, of this realm. Now we know that Saturn is the father. Even though it is a feminine, it is a feminine. Be not, it is a feminine. Saturn is considered to be Saturn and Capricorn are considered to be feminine astrological signs. It's not masculine. It's not. So, and that's how you know to some degree that the original, because they're saying Kythera is Pluto. That's feminine. It's water. Then you have Hokmah, that's Neptune, that's Pisces, that's feminine. Then you have Binah, that's Saturn, that's Capricorn, that's feminine. So you know that the three etheric energies are all feminine energies. So that's how you know the creator being, in some essence, is a feminine energy. It's a feminine energy that created all things beneath it, which are in turn pretty masculine. They're all masculine, except for Mercury and Venus. They share the duality. If you notice, Mercury is masculine and feminine. Virgo and Gemini are masculine. Gemini's masculine, Virgo is feminine. Then Venus is masculine and feminine, which is Libra and Taurus. But the feminine energies above created the masculine energies beneath. Mars and Jupiter, which are both masculine energies. That's Aries and that is Sagittarius. That's something to think about. How important the feminine principles are actually, how important they actually are. Even though they have even though they say that there's a balance, which it is, because the more and more you come into the structural foundation of this realm, the masculine and feminine are, there's duality. So Mercury, duality. Venus, duality. The sun is masculine. So the three energies, there's three energies above that are feminine, three energies below that are masculine. And then you have masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. Then you have Yesod, which is the moon, which is feminine. Then you have the sun. Then you have Earth, which is masculine and feminine. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I feel like, as we know, the womb is the creator of life. The masculine energy gives, but the feminine energy receives, receptivity. So we know that the womb is where the energy takes form and it comes into duality. Because before you're a boy, you're a girl. Everybody is born a girl first. Everybody comes in as a girl, then your nuts drop. You become a boy. Okay? But every baby is a girl before it's a boy. So Venus, the planet of love and beauty, symbolizes attraction, romance, and fertility. Venus was also the Greek goddess of love and attraction. The glyph for Venus looks like a woman's hand mirror. Okay. And then we have Mars. Mars is the red planet, symbolizes energy and masculine force. Because Mars was the god of war, it also symbolizes self-defense and aggression. The Mars glyph looks like a shield and a spear. Jupiter. Jupiter, the largest planet, symbolizes growth, okay? Expansion, luck, and enthusiasm. Its glyph looks like the lucky number 21, okay? As well as the number 4, which sounds like fortune, okay? Then we have Saturn. So Jupiter is like this, and then Saturn is like this, looks like an H, okay? So that's how you know opposite of luck is bad luck. Sorry, no, I'm playing. Saturn, the ring planet of boundaries and limitations, symbolizes discipline. So where Jupiter is like, oh, you got that out of luck. That was just pure luck. Saturn is hard work. H for hard work, baby. Okay, you got to put in the work. They ain't gonna let you. Ain't nothing coming easy with Saturn, baby. You got to do the work, okay? So Saturn, the ring planet of boundaries and limitations, symbolizes discipline, clear-cut definitions, and tradition, okay? The Saturn glyph looks like a church with a steeple and a cross, okay? So that's how you know that we are still in the age of Saturn, like I was saying. In the mindset of Saturn, we're worshiping a dead star. Whatever star that was connected to Saturn that they continue to worship is the one we need to let go of. This is why we need to let go of religion, religious practices, and start to embrace our own spirits. And when you do that, now you open up the floodgate for the alignment to happen. And that way we can start to move away from all of this structure and foundational energy that is locking us into time loops, and we can free our spirits in order for us to live limitless lives and with limitless possibilities. I'm just so distraught because people do not want to do this. People need structure so bad. They feel like they feel like if they don't have structure, but that's the good thing about Aquarius is that before we release the structure, there's still an element of structure to Aquarius. Like Aquarius still has the embodiment of Saturn. It's Saturn and Uranus. So it's like it's rebellious structure. It's like there is structure, there is foundation, but it's according to your soul. It's not according to someone else. It's something you have to focus on that's within you. And I think that's what people stray away from is like, oh, I don't want to be myself. I don't want to have to guide myself. I don't want to have to figure it out for myself. I want somebody else to have the plan for me. Well, yes, unfortunately, there are people here that are still sheep, that are not even sheep. Let's not give them that title because every soul is not as developed as the next one. Some souls are so developed that living in this type of condition is detrimental to the soul. Like trying to function in a corporation is like, why would I do that? Why would I want to? Why? Who do I look like? You know what I'm saying? And then the younger souls are like, I need structure though. I came here for structure. I came here to learn structure. I came here to learn. Like I didn't come here to just willy-nilly around and do some fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we have to understand like these young souls still need the time to develop into a place where they can actually, you know, move into that energy of this is what I came here for. This is what I'm here to do. This is what I've been brought here for. And as we usher into that, let's talk about Uranus. Uranus, the futuristic planet of freedom. Okay. And one of the things that people kind of attribute to Uranus is rebellion, which is true, freedom and rebellion. But it's mostly independence. Okay. So it's teaching you how to function on your own, in your own energy. Because if you don't know yourself, love yourself, understand yourself, how can you know that this person is honoring you? How can you understand? How can you set clear boundaries if you don't have clear boundaries? You don't even know what boundaries are if you just live your life at the mercy of someone else. It's like you don't value yourself. So that's why Uranus is coming into play. That's why the age of Aquarius is so important because people need to understand core values. They need to start standing on business. Okay, stand on business, my boy. Because you can't be out here letting people dictate and control your free will. You need your autonomy. You need to be able to make decisions for yourself because it's your world, baby. And you living in your world. You are your own little planet here on Earth. So if if you're not taking control of that, you're not allowing yourself to live it out to the best of your abilities because you're fearful or you're living under the dominion of someone else, you're limiting your soul, and your soul is essentially going to be right back where it started, just in another body, okay? So anyway, the futuristic planet of freedom rebellion, which symbolizes independence, okay? The Uranus glyph looks like a satellite with antennas. Neptune, the vaporous planet of illusion, symbolizes glamour and sensitivity. Its glyph looks like King Neptune's trident. We all know who King Neptune is. That's Ariel dad. Okay? With the trident in the water. That's what I be talking about. Phantasma. Like that's Neptune. Like that's how all Pisces are. Like they think they mermaids. All of them. Just be like, are you on planet Earth? Where are you? Because you're not in this world. You're not in this realm. And then Pluto, the planet of death and regeneration, okay, symbolizes unavoidable change. The Pluto glyph looks like someone rising from the dead, okay? Technically, it's a coin and a chalice, symbols of payment for everlasting life. An alternate version of the glyph combines the letters P and L. Pluto. Okay, so that is a short description of the planets. Okay, we didn't really get to go in detail completely with the planets, but we can go in detail with the planets on the next episode. Okay, so I'll start out we'll get straight into the sun and we'll go all the way down to Pluto. And we'll also talk about some other asteroids that are prevalent. Like we talked about the North and the South Node. We'll talk about Par Fortune and we'll talk about Saturn return. And we'll discuss a little bit more about I think we'll try and get into the houses on the next episode. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. I love you. Mwah.